Hi, and
Hi.
there we are. We are live, just as Mariam joined. Hello, Mariam.
Hi.
Okay, so up to now, it's Mariam, Matt, Mike, and me. It's the regular meeting at RFM. And yeah, I will also quickly introduce Mike to Mariam. Mike is interested into the project. I've met him before here in Berlin in person. And now, yeah, let's let's introduce some of the issues we might implement.
Hi, Miriam.
Hi. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Where do you live now, actually, Mike?
I'm still in Berlin.
You're still in Berlin. Nice. Yeah, maybe we can also meet and work together if you want.
Exactly. Yeah, it'd be really convenient.
Cool. Where do you live exactly in Berlin?
I'm in Prenzlauer Berg, so up north.
At the very end. So I live in the south, in Tempelhof.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, why not?
I thought you were in Potsdam, but
yeah, I moved to Berlin after I graduated from a university.
Okay. Cool.
Now I'm back in my university in an office here, just to get some internet. But usually I live in Berlin now. Yeah, cool. Let's meet.
Certainly.
We can maybe pair on the issues together, hands-on.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
Apart from that, the agenda for today would just be maybe explain some things about the latest feature, like making a little retrospective, just to get everyone on track. And then I would just say, I mean, everyone is free right now. There's nobody working on a particular feature, I think. So we can use this meeting to assign everybody a couple of issues that he or she would be interested in to work on. Yeah?
Yeah, sounds good.
Matt, I didn't install Xserver again, so I'm not able to screen share at the moment. Could you be so kind and open a browser, screen share, and show us the GitHub repository?
Yep.
And maybe in another tab, you can also show the page, which is now in production.
Yeah, I noticed that. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I noticed that the geographic visualization is still not completed. Like there's some implementation, but not all.
Yeah.
Hey, look at that.
Yeah, there you go. So just to get everyone on track, Matt and Faith is not currently with us right now, but they were working on a particular feature. Basically, I think I have to click on your video. So I'm the person who's deciding what the focus of the Hangout is going to be. So I'm now clicking on your display, and for the rest of the Hangout, your display will be visible to everyone. So this is the current page in production, and Matt and Faith, we're like creating a feature so people can on a voluntary basis publish their age group, their approximate age, and their gender. The reasoning behind this is we want to create statistical data. So this application, you can like vote for certain broadcasts in this application. And if the system knows your approximate age group and your gender, then you will be able later on to create such a so-called population pyramid. This is what you just see in this data visualization for every broadcast. So you take all the supporters of a broadcast who want to support this broadcast, and then you place those people, or you visualize these people in a way similar to this one. And this would help broadcasters to see, okay, are more older people looking our broadcast or rather young people? This is interesting because here in Germany, the classic media's like TV or radio are not very common anymore with young people. So older people still watch TV and they listen to the radio, but young people only use YouTube or any kind of online service. And this would be an interesting information, maybe. And now you can, if you're logged in, and I think Matt, he is logged in right now. So Matt, you can actually, like, if you want, assign your, okay, so Matt is female and she is 30 to 34. There you go. And now this data is stored in the database. That's basically it. So this was deployed yesterday. There are a couple of things I want to say about. So Matt, I was asking Matt yesterday in the Slack whether it's okay if I just squash the pull request. It's because we had a very long-running pull request. So here's the first learning I can share with you for the retrospective. In software development, you should avoid long-running pull requests. Maybe Mike, do you have an idea why? Quiz question. You're muted, by the way, Mike.
Yeah. Sorry. So actually, I was going to ask you, what is a long-running pull request? Like, it's something that's been sitting there for too long, or?
Basically, yes. Maybe Matt, can you show us the GitHub repository and the pull request, which is now closed, and the history of the pull request?
Closed.
I think you can also search. You can use the search bar, and there you just enter gender demography, and this should bring you to the pull request. No. Okay. Other plan: remove that word and sort by, I don't know. You have to hit enter again, and then you can sort, or you can also sort by author. Recently updated. Yeah, there you go. Second one.
Have a dependencies now. Oh, here we go.
So Matt and others added some commits on April the 8th. So this pull request was merged yesterday, and it took almost 2 months until it hit production. This is what I would call a long-running pull request, and you have a lot of commits there. Right. So why should you avoid a long-running pull request? So this happened because maybe the feature was too large, and it took a while until we got into the concepts in order to like deliver the feature, because it required changes in front end and back end, and a lot of testing and a lot of mapping between values. What else? Some changes to the template. Tests, a lot of tests. How to create acceptance tests in Ember, how to create unit tests in Ember, and so on, so on. So this can happen. Okay, but why is it? Why you should avoid long-running pull request? The first thing is you're going to avoid merge conflicts if you try to keep pull requests small, and if you try to get those pull requests merged as soon as possible into master. If it takes a long time until the branch is merged back into master, those two branches diverge very easily. And this is unfortunate because there are some changes on master, like dependency updates, other features that are not incorporated into the feature branch yet. And in the end, you will get a lot of merge conflicts, and And maybe you can, it might happen that you see an error when the master is merged into the feature branch. And that happened actually yesterday. So we had a new dependency on master. We merged the master into the feature branch, and suddenly there was a bug which was not present on master, but on the feature branch, and so on. So merge conflicts, you don't want to have those branches to diverge. And it's also for the person who's reviewing the pull request. It's really hard if you have a lot of files in the pull request. Maybe, Matt, you can show us how many files were changed in that pull request. Yeah, so we have 26 files changed in that pull request. And it's really hard for someone who's doing a code review to go through each file and not try to miss anything. All right. So that's the reason. That's another reason why you should avoid long-running pull requests. And what else? Yes. So yesterday I was trying to fix a bug, and I wasn't quite sure which commit was actually introducing this bug. In the end, it was a dependency issue. But it was really hard for me to find the actual issue, because we merged the master at multiple times into the feature branch. And it's not a linear commit history anymore. It's like a very chaotic, complex Git history. And it was very hard for me to actually track down what is causing the bug. So I would say there are already a couple of arguments or reasons why you should avoid it. You'll find more on the internet. There are even strategies for long-running refactorings. I would suggest the so-called Mikado method. Maybe, Mike, you have maybe been on the same Ruby user group meeting where the Mikado method was like introduced to the audience. There was a guy who was working in GitHub. He's living in Berlin, and he introduced the Mikado method for long-running refactorings. And the Mikado method, one key factor of the Mikado method is that you always have the commits of your refactoring merged back into master. Maybe you can just look it up later. So if any of you, Mariam, Matt, Mike, if you're interested, just check out the Mikado method. Yeah, so this is it for the feature which was merged. Oh, one thing. I wanted to squash the pull request then, so we have a linear history again. This is an easy way of just getting all those commits and squashing them into one. And another reason why I wanted this to do is we changed migrations in these commits. Maybe you can click on the commit history, Matt, and search if maybe you find some commit messages that indicate that a migration was changed. Make Rubicon happy. So a database migration is a change to the database schema. And it may happen that those migrations cannot be applied one after another. So if you generate a new migration, probably you know the command railsg migration, which will generate a migration file for you in order for you to, I don't know, add one database column to a table. It might happen that for example, your production server is on a commit where a column was added, and you are just changing the migration file in place without creating a new one. and saying that, and you change the database type, for example. This is what we did. We had the age group as a string in the database, like a string encoding the numbers. For example, 30 to 34. And I don't know how it is implemented right now. Yes. So, and now we're just using a date object in the database to encode the approximate age group. And if your production server, let's say, would have executed the migration that has this database column as a string, you're changing the migration in place and push that code, the production server will try to create a new column with that same name. So the moral message here is you should not you should not change database migrations after you committed them, unless, as we did yesterday, we just squash everything into one commit. So there's no option of there's no way of checking out the old migrations. Is that clear? I was talking a lot now. Any one of you, can you please give me some feedback if my explanation is actually adequate?
Yeah, I understand what you're talking about.
So you understand? This was Matt, or who was it?
Yeah.
Mariam, is it? Do you understand why you should not alter migrations after you committed them?
I don't understand the part where you said that it shouldn't be after a commit. I don't know what's the relation between commit and then.
Yeah, so it's a matter of timing. You might change the migration on your local machine, altering the state of your database. And on production, you're not going to rerun all the migrations, but you will only run the latest migration. So if you alter a migration file which was already executed, for example, on the production server, then you'll run into production errors, like errors which will occur in production, not on your laptop.
Oh, yeah.
Is it understandable?
Yeah.
All right. And this was one reason why I wanted to squash the entire pull request into one commit yesterday. So this cannot happen. Like, you cannot check out a commit. Like, all commits are in one, like all the commits of the pull request are squashed into one. So you cannot only check out one this commit only. Does that make sense?
I just had a side question, Rob.
Yeah.
For squashing the commits, are you going to do a git rebase interactive, or is it another way?
There's a button on GitHub. You can choose, if you merge a pull request, you have several strategies. One would be merge, which is the default. Another one is rebase. A third one is squash merge.
I see. Great.
Yeah. And this is what we did yesterday. Usually I say rebase, but this time I decided to go for squash. All right?
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, so this is it for the feature yesterday. Now, can everybody tell me, like, what issue are you interested in, or what would you like to learn? I would like to make a mix of your interests and those features that might be relevant in the near future. Mike, are you actually, like, do you know our technology stack, for example? Have you, did you get familiar with it already?
Yeah, I mean, I have the project installed, loaded on my local desktop.
Oh, nice. How nice. Cool. So it's already installed and it's running.
It's running, yeah. And actually, I was looking through the issue logs, and I think number 333 was something I was interested in. I don't know if someone else already took it or not.
333. So Matt, you can also just change the issue number in the URL. You can. What I do is I just click on the issue and then change the issue ID. Or you can do it like that. Yeah.
Yep, that's the one.
Oh, that's the one we just closed. I think. Or no? No, it says open.
An API request to users 2 to 3 from authenticated. Yeah, I think this is what we just closed in that pull request.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, this is pretty much it. Cool. Yeah, so this is one. Yeah, you can basically, Matt, just go ahead and say closed via and then issue pull request number.
Here in the comments.
Closed by and then hashtag 583. There you go. A close and comment, or comment and then close, whatever.
Whoops.
There you go. One issue less.
Okay.
We were talking about we had started on 336, right?
Yes, yeah.
I mean, I was still interested in doing that because I also noticed something that you said that was helpful, Robert, as well, is that when I was looking at the these frequently asked questions, I noticed a couple improvements that I could make to the English. So and you said that a lot of people, I don't know, you said that was helpful. So
yes, it's absolutely helpful. So if you improve the translation, that's totally helpful. So I'm not an English native. I think Mike and Matt, you are the two who are English natives. And yes, absolutely, it's absolutely welcome to fix the translations.
Sure.
And also it's something that I think, Miriam, you have I've noticed that you have experience in that I don't have at all is with using Cucumber and yeah, like I'm happy to keep pairing on that with you and Faith if that's something you're still interested in.
Yeah, I was going to tell you that we're gonna meet tomorrow for.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Awesome.
Yeah, actually, why not? We were working on this FAQ page, and yes, I forgot. I'm sorry for that. Yes, of course, you're working on this issue. So this is a great issue to learn Cucumber. Right. So Matt and Mariam, you want to work on that feature and learn how to write Cucumber tests and so on.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
What else what I got into my mind is if you now on production click on the About Us link, it's pretty outdated.
Yeah.
It's in the footer section, and you can click on About Us, and this will bring you to a page where the developers of this application are listed.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And there are a lot of developers. Only those developers who wanted to appear here are listed there. So as far as I know, Domenico, for example, he didn't want to be on that page, or the girl from Spain, I missed her name. Anyway, but you're very welcome to add your contact information or whatever if you want to at this page. This is also nice pull request because you don't have to test it, and you learn some like the CSS framework. We are using a CSS component called cards, and you can check out the documentation of semantic UI here. Maybe if you want. Yeah, feel free to add your bio here. Who wants to be on this page, actually?
I mean, yeah, I would like to.
So, Matt? Mariam?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure. You can decide later. That's no problem.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have much of a bio, but
yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
You have a GitHub account, and you have, I don't know, whatever you have, whatever you like.
Yeah.
Cool. So everybody, feel free to edit this page.
Is there any issues that you think that are like of utmost importance?
Yeah. So the problem here is it's the development of this application apparently works well, surprisingly, but the user engagement is at an all-time low. Like maybe you notice it, but the number of registered users did not increase in the last 2 months or whatever. And this is related because there are no media. There's no media presence of this application anymore. There was a lot of media presence in the past year, but there was none in this year. And this is because I got a little bit occupied by other projects, specifically also my master's thesis, which I had to write at the end of that last year and the beginning of this year. And I would probably change that. So we are currently in the process of registering a charity. And if that works out well, then we are going to probably run a crowdfunding campaign. At least at that moment, we have to make some, get more users on the page. And one way of engaging users more would be sending out emails. Like we have a lot of emails in our database of all the past users. So we could, for example, send them send them notifications. We have to be aware of the recent data protection laws. So before we're going to start that, we have to ask users kindly if we are allowed to send them emails. For example, a lot of people have added new broadcasts into the database. This would be one reason of notifying people. Like there have been 50 broadcasts added to the database since your last login, something like that. Or we have these and these features already applied or implemented since your last visit, stuff like that. This is something that has to be done in the backend, and which I would put as a high priority for the near future, I would say, right? So, but this is, I don't know. This would be an issue. I don't even think we have it already in our issue list. Yeah, but this would be something I would probably work on in the near future. Is anybody actually interested into writing, like sending out notifications to users?
Yeah, I think. Well, yeah, I was just saying I'd be interested in that if nobody else was. Or yeah.
All right, cool. It's always depending on what you want to learn, right? So this is a volunteering project. You are here for learning something, not only to make do something for the common good, but also do something for yourself. So just decide on a feature that fits to your learning expectations. So sending out notifications will probably be a very backend related task. And for example, Mike, yeah, of course you can. Yeah, if you, for example, want to work on something in the front end, feel free to choose another issue or whatever. So we have, by the way, we have in our issue list a tag front end, back end, depending on whether this issue requires changes in the front end or the back end, respectively.
Robert, is this issue? This issue says it's blocked, but this is to do. It's not to do it. You can't click on the population chart right now. But is this also been closed by the recent pull request?
No, this is not, because right now you have to publish. You have to give the data by clicking on the drop-down menu. So the idea was here to have an interactive data visualization where you can just send your data by clicking on the chart. I have no idea how complicated this is. This might be very easy. This might be very complicated and hard to implement. I don't know. And I don't know either if this is actually something that people like to use. I don't know if people immediately get it, that they actually can click on the population pyramid. So whether or not this is actually something user understand, like if this is something intuitive, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So maybe you can make make a small paper prototype. How about that? If you can do it with your wife or your friends, you make a piece of paper and you make a sketch of the population pyramid, and then you write down a small message that you can actually alter or mutate the data in that data visualization by clicking on it. And then you try to test it on your friend or the testing person, whatever, and see if he or she actually reads the message and is able to understand just from looking at it what to do. Like if he or she just doesn't sees the population pyramid, interesting, supporters of broadcast XY, but doesn't read the small hint that you can actually click on it, then I would say this idea is not going to work in production either.
Yeah.
I would try to test that first, like with some kind of user testing scenario. By the way, I did that a lot of times. I did that on meetings in Berlin. So you can, if you, for example, Google for user test, can you just quickly type into Google how to run a user test or user study or something like that? I'm very serious about it. Like it seems like unusual for a developer to do this, but it's awesome if you did it once, if you feel confident just to go to strangers and ask them whether they want to participate in something like that. It's also something that you can learn, something that you can add to your skill as a developer, that you are able to run those kind of user tests. Which is very important if you're going to develop something from scratch. And you have a lot of tutorials how to do it on the internet, just as Matt showed it to us. So what I did was I was going to technology meetups where people just sit down at their desks and develop something, right? There are meetups like the Ruby user group where you have some kind of presentation styles, but there are also other meetups where just people gather and work together and they can ask questions or get help on some features if they want to. And this is a perfect place to ask people to participate in some kind of user testing. Right? Mariam, have you ever done something like this before?
No.
It sounds interesting, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
And seriously, if you ever go have a job interview and can talk about your past experience running those kind of things, this is a definite plus in your job interview. So a lot of people asked me about my past experience with these kinds of things. For example, in a job interview, because nobody knows how to implement something and how to find the right, how to build something that actually is, I don't know, fun to use. Yeah. I would say that Rundfunk mitbestimmen, for example, is terrible in user experience. There are a lot of things that need to be improved. You can also run a user test not only with pen and paper, but also on the actual system. If you, for example, want to know, like, did I tell you about the reasoning for the FAQ page? I did, right?
Yeah. Because of the user experience, because it's better to have it in one page.
Yeah, so people, if they see the login window, if they want to click on support button and they see the login window, they just don't understand, why do I have to sign in here? Like they don't understand why an application like this needs their login data, right? So they just want to enter their data, to dump their data and leave and never come back. But they don't understand that if they send a write request, they write in the database, the server needs to somehow know who they are, so they can have access to that data later on as well, right? Otherwise, the users will never be able to change or modify the data, and it will be kind of, in a sense, lost forever. So there's no way of getting access to the data later on. And this is bad user experience because people don't understand it. And I notice it because I notice it in those user tests when I try to ask people, can you maybe try out this prototype? And yeah, people got into this login view and they told me, like, why do I have to sign up now, right? And this is something you can get out of those user tests. So questions. So Matt and Mariam, you're going to work on the FAQ page?
Yeah, yes.
Yep. As well.
And Mike, are you interested in working in the backend, or are you interested in working in the front end?
Backend, definitely.
Backend. All right. So we can work on the notification part. I don't know how I would start. I would probably I have to think about it. Whether how to create those emails. It would be nice to have something like an automatic process where you get notified if you haven't logged in since a month or so, and you get all the news. What are the latest? How many broadcasts were added to the database since my last visit? How many features were implemented since the last visit, and so on. I would probably start with that.
Yep.
Can I go ahead and close this issue 334 to do with the displaying the current population pyramid as a placeholder?
Yes, you can. Closed via, what was it?
55338 or something. No, 583.
You can search. There you go. 583. Nice.
Just to clean up some of these open issues.
Oh yeah. By the way,
This one as well. Age group range should automatically change over time.
yes, we did that. Perfect. Yeah. Close this too, because now we're storing the approximate birthday in the database, which means we can calculate the age of a user, the approximate age, let's say. Nice. Yeah. Yesterday I was bug fixing more bugs in our dependencies. So there's one issue, update chrono model. We're currently not able to update that gem because they are incompatible with Rails 5.2, and I was working on that gem, helping to make it compatible yesterday night. Okay, any questions so far from your side? How are you feeling with the project after all? Do you learn something? Are you happy with it? Is there something I can improve, for example? I always have the feeling that I'm talking a lot during those regular meetings. So if there's something I can improve to help you with your learning experience, then please go ahead and tell me.
Yeah, not so much a question, but I just I'm interested in pairing on the backend stuff as well. If you guys want to let me know when you're pairing, or
yes, of course.
Also, yeah, there is one thing, like if other people don't have stuff, because I know you like to keep the regular meetings around an hour, so we're coming up against it. I was trying to when you sent me the message, I don't know if it was a message or a PR review about using aliases to dry up the even more the services. I went to the link that you sent me, and I understood how they were using it, but the way they used it was much more simpler than our use case. And then I was kind of in the middle of going through the Rundfunk and seeing how you used aliases, and trying to figure out how that relates to how I would use it to dry up the services. And then when I was in the middle of that, I noticed that you kind of had already changed it and used the aliases. But I don't know. I still had some question on exactly how, like, what you did. Like, I mean, I guess I could open up and show you a bit better what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But
you can also check out the commit that you're talking about. So I think I sent you a link to the commit. And if you want, you can just click on that link in Slack. It will bring us to GitHub, and you can see what changed and how I used the aliases in that commit. No, I think it's further up.
Yeah. No.
Oh, that's the issue. Bisect, yeah. And bisect didn't work for me yesterday.
Bug which I fixed.
No, that was a bug fix. So there was a test. You were just talking to me like there's one test that is constantly failing, but it was actually something that the test exposed as a bug. And so yeah, we're very glad that this test existed.
So it was below. I think it was below this, because that was the link that you sent me about the aliases.
Yeah, can you scroll up a little bit until to the link with the Ember guides? And
yeah, this. But then I think the implementation you did after this.
So I just said pushed, and I didn't send you a link to the commit. I just sent you a link to the Ember guides.
But like here on the Ember guides, for example, like what they used was like a very simple example of using like a different language, I guess, to use alias, which I understood that, but then I was like, okay, well, why would I want, unless I'm like, why would I want to, age groups or gender? Why would I want an alias for that? So I was trying to understand that. And then I went, like I said, I was going through and looking at the, I was looking at how you've implemented it in with on other pages,
Exactly.
And,
so
I understood it's like basically you're calling from the model, and then like so model and then dot and then the name of it and stuff. Open, now it's closed. But then there was a couple things I didn't quite understand.
Maybe you can try to find the commit in this pull request, which I was referencing in our chat. And in the meantime, I'll tell you why I was using aliases in that occasion. So the goal was actually to remove code duplication or redundancy. Redundancy in source code is something you want to avoid as well, because there might be small, if you change the code, like say you have the same code in two different files. And this was the case in our application, in this pull request, because we had these age groups, like an array of age groups defined in 3 different places. So I suggested that you create a service. A service is a piece of centralized code in Ember, which you can inject into pretty much anything you want. You can inject it into controllers. You can inject into units, models, sorry. So controllers, models, routes, whatever you want. And you can have the definition of all those age groups at one central location. So if you change something there, all age groups will change in the respective files where you reference this service. So this is the idea. If you have just one tiny typo, for example, and you don't have the service, you have the redundancy, this will lead to certain errors. And it can already be something like in one location you use notation like number space hyphen, or sorry, number space dash space and then a number, while in another one you use number dash number, and this would be inconsistent, and so those age group wouldn't match. In order to avoid such errors or mistakes, you can try to deduplicate your code and put it into one central location, which we did using the service. And the aliases could just come in handy if you want to reference those in your files. So the service actually defines a property called age groups and another property which is called age group labels. The age groups are the arrays of arrays. We have an array with, I don't know, how many items? Probably 20.
21, yeah.
100 divided by 5, 20. Yeah, 20 items. Each item has 2 values, which is starting age, end age, like 30 and 34. Or 0 and 4. Or, I don't know, 80 and 84. And then we have those age group labels, which is the same thing, but every group joined with a dash. So you have a string instead of an array. And there's one special case, which is the last age group, which is 100 plus. And there you create those, you set those properties, and you have it. You had to do it only once. So
this logic here is basically the same that we have in another file that's like the user model, or
exactly, and it was basically extracted from that location. So it's not in the user model anymore. It's in the service. So other files or components can benefit from it. Yeah, exactly. So this is red. So this was removed. You don't have to create this array anymore in the user model.
You just have to call the service. The service name is demography, and then you call the service. And then this age groups come, you use an alias that comes from this service.age groups.
Yeah. Mariam and Mike, do you know delegate from Rails?
I'm not familiar with that.
Yes, I heard about it, but I haven't used it before.
So Mariam, you used it. Mike, you?
I'm not familiar with that.
You're not familiar with it.
I said that I just said that I have heard about it, but I didn't use it before. So
yeah. So in Rails, you can easily there's a syntax for delegating methods to other objects. Let's say you have a user account, and you have whatever. In our case, broadcasts, and okay, that's a bad example. So you have the join model, you have the vote between user and broadcast, and every vote has one user and one broadcast, and you can define a method in the model vote, which just delegates to user. So you can, for example, ask vote dot user email. And you could you have a syntax in Rails where you just say delegate user email to user. That means if you call a method on the vote object, it will itself call user and then call the same method on the user model and then return the result. And you can specify what should happen if the user is nil. Then you can say, instead of raising a nil pointer exception, you just return nil again, and so on and so on. But this is how delegate works in Rails. It comes in, it's just a nice syntax for this kind of thing. And here, the alias is pretty much the same. We have a property called genders, and we delegate it to the demography service. There's a property called genders on the demography service. But for example, since we use alias, we are not limited to this name. We can decide how our property should be called. Like here, we have a property called age group labels, which is delegated to the demography service, and age group labels there. But there's at least one place, and I think you scrolled over it, where we call our property age groups, and in fact, it's delegated to the age group labels. So this is just the same. Maybe you can scroll into the component. Yeah, so we have age groups there, and this time it's delegated to age group labels. Because in the component, we want to populate this drop-down menu. And for this, we only need the strings, the labels, not the arrays. So alias comes for us, it comes in very handy here. Does it make sense? Do you know what this code does actually?
Yeah, I mean, like when I was checking out the other examples in the code base, like I didn't see any because yeah, I mean, again, I can open it up and show you, but I didn't see any examples of using another, like the name of the service as an alias, because actually if I come here to services, like there's just store and demography, and store is like kind of looks empty, I don't know, and then this is what we added, right? So then I did like I did a search for alias in the front end, I guess, because we're talking about the front end.
Mm-hmm.
And then I came here to try to understand what was going on, and how you used it in different places. And then like, so here we have that, and then we have this alias, but it starts off with a model. And then, so I was trying to trace this back to like, where's this total pages? Where is this? And, so then I was thinking that it needed to be some model dot, whereas you can call, it seems like you can, well, not it seems like you can call the service, no, not there, here, the service directly, like demography.genders, for example.
So the last sentence, I didn't get the last sentence. Can you repeat, please?
Yeah, that you can call like directly from this, starting with the service instead of starting with model. Because I think in all the other examples that I found here, it was always using model. This
So
one just model by itself, model.content model. I didn't find any other examples where this type of implementation was used. I mean, I guess, yeah.
Model is like a reserved word in Ember. It's related to the so-called model hook of a route. So whenever you access a page and you need to query some data, and you need to get some data from the backend, the model hook will retrieve that data for you. And there's this is how Ember works. You have those two objects. It's a little bit confusing, and I still don't know why we have actually two objects instead of just one. There's an ongoing discussion in the Ember community why we still have controllers and not just routes. But this is just the way it is. Okay, so the route calls the model hook. And here you return the model is the result of querying the user model. Right, so there will be an HTTP request to the backend in order to get back the user. And so model here is the user model. And every route will initialize the controller, the associated controller. So there's always a controller for a route. The route will initialize the property called model with the result of the model hook. So if you go to find broadcast route, and scroll down to the model hook, you can see on line 41 to 43 that you're returning a model which is composed of two parts. First, the impressions and the broadcasts. The broadcasts here is a special object which is a find-paged array which has some meta value, which is how many broadcasts are there in total. So it returns only the 10 broadcasts which are visible on the page, but it also knows how many broadcasts do we have in total in our database. What page number are we on right now? So you can page through your broadcasts on this page find broadcast, and how many items are in one page. These are the three meta values that you have with this find paged array. And these meta values are relevant in order to generate the page numbers below the page. Maybe you can show this on in production. If you just go on the route find broadcasts. Yeah, it takes a while. And if you scroll down, haha, okay, we don't have it there. Sorry. Can you go to statistics? So we have a page array here as well, but those it's implemented a little bit different. So there you have page numbers, and in order to generate these page numbers, you need to know how many pages are there in total, which is 49, because the last page is 49. And what is the current page? So if you click on any of those pages, you will notice a change in the current URL. So if you go in the address bar, you see the question mark page equals 4. That is, we are currently on the 4th page. If you reload the page, you're still on page 4, because Ember knows. Ember will retrieve the right broadcasts, the right statistics on page 4. Does it make sense?
Yeah. I was listening to on the bike today. I was listening to a podcast from Rails to Ember. It's quite old actually, because they were talking about like how Ember's 2.0 is about to come out, which was a little while ago. But I'll share it on the group. I've been waiting to share it until I actually listen to it. But it's quite interesting talking for some hangups or some differences in understanding if you come from Rails and understanding like the differences between Ember and so. Yeah, I think they were talking a little bit about this.
Yeah, a lot of has changed in Ember 2. Like the framework has totally changed from 2013 Ember 0 or Ember 1 version 1 to Ember .0. I think it was 2016 when Ember 2 was released. Yeah. The framework totally changed.
Yeah, they're talking about like components and how components are gonna.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Ember 1 was MVC pattern, while this doesn't work in single page applications apparently, and they found out, and so they changed it in 2016. And now it's web components or the component pattern. But yeah, back to point. The model is just a special name, which has a meaning in the Ember framework, and it's always the data that is that comes from the backend. And in this case, we have a property on that object like total pages, and this is what you see in the code. So in the controller that you showed us before, where you have the alias, it's aliasing a property called total pages to the model, the broadcast part in that model, and on the broadcast part, the property total pages. So you just have to write in your template total pages instead of the entire the chained call of model broadcast order pages. You can do that, of course, but it's just inconvenient to write it down. All right. Do you understand it better now?
Yeah.
So here you can see it's a controller, and yeah, so this one actually aliases some property on the model. But yeah, in our user model, for example, we are aliasing a property on a service, and this is why we say demography dot some property. And demography is a property on the user model because we inject that service with that name in our user model.
But because there's the difference like between a model hook, which is in the routes, which is, from what I understand, like the routes are responsible for grabbing information and returning that information. Like they're saying, like much like controllers do in Rails, and then the models as well, because we have here all these models as well, which we don't have for demography, for example, but you do have for broadcasts. Oh, we do have for demography actually. We do, no, we have for user.
Yeah.
That we added some stuff for demography, but you have this model, and then you have model hooks.
Yeah, right. So they don't immediately relate to each other. The models in Ember is like a database schema. It's similar to a model in Rails, actually.
Yeah.
You define the name of a database table, for example, and here you define the name of like a type. And Ember Data is a plugin which can grab this definition here. So it knows, okay, every broadcast has some properties which are called title, description, image URL, and so on and so on. You can optionally pass a data type. So when Ember Data gets a response from the backend, it is able to automatically do some type conversions, like making a date object out of the date string which was returned by the server. So you have on line 9 and 10, you have two dates created at, updated at. The server will only return a string which has the date encoded, but the Ember Data will always convert it to a date object, which is a convenience, which is very convenient for developing. Plus, you can add more stuff to the model, like we did. We have computed properties. We have properties that depend on, like this one. Yeah, here. This is another delegate, actually. So line number 15. You can refactor that one. This is just an alias. You can refactor it right away. So apparently I wrote this piece of code before I knew alias. I mean, it's doing just if impression's first object response changes, the response, so it returns just that. This is nothing more but an alias. So you can replace the word computed with alias and remove everything after the last, like after the single quotation mark. You can just add a closing parenthesis there and comma, and that's it. And of course, you have to import alias here at the top of the file.
Yeah, the import alias as a service.
Yeah, alias. Sorry for mispronouncing the word. No, alias, just alias. No, not alias as service. So this is renaming something. You can just say alias from, and I don't know, I think it's at Ember /computed/ I don't know.
Where? Using
Mariam and Mike, are you still with us, or are you kind of bored? It's
Yeah. I'm still, yeah, it's interesting.
all right.
Yep. Still here.
Yeah, there you go.
We have something to commit from our regular meeting.
Nice.
So just like that should work.
Yeah.
Now, should I run some test or something on this to make sure?
You can also create a pull request right away. I'm very sure that this is not going to break any tests. Git check out -b and refactoring, alias, whatever. Commit and push and create a pull request. Yeah. So the concept of aliasing things is clear, and you learned also something for the backend. The very same concept is in Rails 2. They call it delegate.
Nice.
You can also set up SSH, and then you don't have to add.
Yeah, it's not working on mine. I said it's weird because it doesn't work on GitHub or GitLab actually, but it does work on Heroku. Even though Heroku went to GitHub to grab the SHA key, so it's the exact same, and it works on Heroku, but it doesn't work on GitHub.
If you copied the public SSH key and put it on GitHub, and you're missing some spaces or something, maybe that's the cause.
Yeah, I mean, I copied it using I've gone through some debugging to try to figure out, and I've copied it like I didn't copy it by hand. I copied it using a command that copies it, and it still doesn't work.
Weird. Well,
not sure, but yeah, it's annoying. What I've done, something I've done to get around it is caching my password so that if I'm pushing something for, it's like for 1 hour or something like that, I don't have to continue to put it in every time. But
yeah,
it's still annoying. Yeah.
All right. Pull request.
Yes, pull request.
New pull request. It's GitHub is showing you.
Yeah.
You see it? Like if you go on the state page, GitHub will show you, oh, you pushed a recent branch.
Yeah.
And then you can immediately create a pull request from that.
Nice.
Yeah, you don't even have to add a description. Just commit it, create a pull request, wait for the build server to finish, and then you can just merge. Yeah, you can do that. By the way, I don't have time after this meeting, but if the build server passes, you can just hit the merge button. I think Matt and Mariam, you all have write access to the repository so far?
Yes.
So Matt, you're able to hit the merge button. And Mike, do you want write access to the repository too?
Sure.
All right.
So there's some conflicts with the front end yarn.lock.
Then you don't. Then you didn't. You committed before you pulled from master. So one way to fix it is git fetch followed by git rebase origin / master. So on your feature branch, you say git fetch, which will pull down the latest changes, and you see there master was updated, and then you say git rebase and then origin / master.
//
Yeah, /. So what enter. Why not space? So if you those commands,
conflict.
No way.
Um,
Can you guys say git status?
Is it because I checked out the new branch from gender demography?
Why do you have a change in demography minus test? Why do you have a change in demography? Oh, because rebase is in progress. Okay, say git rebase minus abort. We don't want that for this tiny fix. So git log, what does git log tell you? Refactor to add allies. Yeah. Just, okay, do the following. I have an idea. So I think the quickest way to accomplish what we want is you reset to, no, sorry, add git log again. So you make a soft reset on F629 again. Yeah, exactly. You copy that one. And then you say git reset without minus hard. So git reset, just the commit hash, will reset the index, not the working copy. So if you say git status, you should have untracked changes. There you go. These are the changes that you wanted to commit. Now you say git stash, which will put the untracked changes on a dirty commit, like the stash. Say git status and see if the untracked changes are gone. Yes. Now you say git reset on origin/master, which will reset both the working copy and, so a hard reset, by the way, which is minus hard. This will reset the index and the working tree on the current master, the upstream master. And if you just say git stash apply, then you apply the changes on the state of the latest master branch. So this is, I'm sure Mariam and Mike, you couldn't follow, but
No, I did it.
I'm very sorry. Git is very complex. Git is a very complex tool.
Yeah.
If you know something about rebasing, maybe this is this would help. Rebasing means we are rewriting history instead of merging things, like creating a new merge commit. We take the latest commits and put them on top of like another commit, which could be the head of a branch. Like we are effectively changing those commits. And I wanted to do something similar to that right now with this feature branch, so we don't run into any merge conflicts. Yeah. I think this is out of scope for the regular meeting. I would suggest to search for rebase versus merge on the internet. If you just type in git rebase versus merge strategy, you will find lots of resources that explain all the differences. And if you go through it, it's actually very, very explained, very detailed and understandable. Now, the push is rejected, of course, because the branch has an old commit, which is not on your branch right now. And it's refusing to push on the upstream branch now. And this is natural because it's not the same commit hash, right? Because the change, you created a new commit, which is not the same like the one upstream, even though it has the same content. So what you can do now is to push with force, which means you will override the remote branch. But please make sure that you are actually overriding the right branch. And for this, I always say git push origin space branch name and then minus force. So I never accidentally override the I don't know, the master branch, for example. Yes, and now minus force. I cannot see the rest of the terminal because the display, the thumbnail windows are on top of, yes, exactly. So now I can see it. Yeah, -f is the abbreviation for minus force. Bam. There you go. Now the pull request shouldn't have any merge conflicts.
Oh, look at that. This branch has no conflicts.
And it also just have one commit. Why does it have many commits? It should just have one.
Yeah, I think it was because, like I said, because the checkout, I checked out of the instead of checking out of the master, I was on gender demography.
Yeah, but that's not a problem. If you say git reset and then a commit, which could be origin master, and we just did that. Origin/master doesn't have all those commits. So if you say git reset origin master and then --hard, it doesn't have the commits from your local branch, gender demography. So I don't understand why the commits are online right now. I don't know, absolutely. Can you refresh the page, please?
Oh, yeah. There
you go. Okay.
Nice.
I mean, I would be very confused if we still have the the commits. Cool.
So after these pass, you said go ahead and merge the pull request.
Go ahead, merge it. Or maybe ask some of your friends, for example, Mariam, to hit the merge button, so you get into the, I don't know, the feeling of I'm hitting the merge button and changing something that will eventually land in production.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Miriam, if you could help me out.
I can just. What's the number for the issue?
It is pull request 6. Is that right? Refactoring broadcast. Yeah.
All right. 90 minutes. I would say let's close the regular meeting.
Let's merge.
Thank you for your time, Robert.
Yes, of course. And if you have any questions, feel free to text me on Slack. And yeah, when Mike, for example, you can pair together if you want.
Sure.
And we can also pair together in person.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So then I will hit the stop button, which will end the regular meeting. Well, the recording of the regular meeting.
Okay.
And Tuesday you're gonna give a talk at the AGM, yeah?
On Tuesday, what?
You're gonna give a talk at the AGM.
I will give a talk. Ah, yeah, right. The annual meeting. True. Yes, I will.
I'll be participating via the internet.
Nice. Cool. Yeah. Next Tuesday, 5 p.m. Berlin time, which is 3 p.m. UTC, I think.
Cool.
Right.
Yeah, I think the AGM starts at 5 a.m. So it's going to be quite an early start, but I'll see you guys there.
Oh, right. Cool.
Well done. Thank you.
Bye, thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.